In previous videos, I've mentioned missing persons related to the Alaskan Triangle, but in this video I wanted to focus more on some of the lore and legends of the Alaskan Triangle, with some possible explanations of the phenomenon that could be responsible for the disappearances. North of Petersburg, Alaska, is Thomas Bay, also known menacingly as the Bay of Death by the native populations because of the devastating landslide in 1750 that claimed 500 villagers. Since that time, the land was thought to be cursed and little activity happened over the years. It wasn't until the 1900s gold rush era that Thomas Bay developed its most infamous history. It's a story that combines a cursed remote lake, a shape-shifting half-man, half-sea otter, and the gold rush. What could be more Alaskan? The Tlingit legends describe the Kushtaka as a being, a shape-shifting, half-man, half-otter trickster. It's been known to lure fishermen and children away from their loved ones with whistles by mimicking calls of a baby crying. Some accounts of the story describe the Kushtaka as ripping the wayward soul to pieces, while other versions tell of the Kushtaka changing the victim into a Kushtaka themselves. Local lore also mentions that no one should speak the Kushtaka's name, especially 3 times in a row. This is thought to evoke the beast. The creatures are said to live throughout southeast Alaska. One of the most famous descriptions of the Kushtaka folklore surrounds Thomas Bay. In the 1900s, a gold prospector by the name of Harry Cope wandered into the cursed land near Patterson Glacier in search of gold. In his eyewitness account, known as The Strangest Story Ever Told, Cope reports traveling into Thomas Bay and discovering a half-moon-shaped lake. It's here that the story gets crazy. The most infamous of evil creatures in Native American culture are the skinwalkers. As the name suggests, these beings can take the form of various animals, sometimes even people. Like the were-animals of European culture, skinwalkers are inherently evil and work to wreak havoc among those around them. As with the werewolf or Ragnaru stories, they actually begin as mortal men who do something so wicked that they are burdened with an animal form. Unlike werewolves, however, the skinwalkers seem to be more willing participants, witches who have gone too far in search of power rather than hapless victims of a blood curse. It is said that all skinwalkers are witches, but not all witches are skinwalkers. It is also worth noting that in Native American legends, most witches are actually male, with very few females participating in the vile acts required to become one. Necrophilia, cannibalism, incest, murder. One must commit an atrocious deed in order to gain the power to hide behind the skin of another. Past that and magical powers, it is not clear what is required to become a skinwalker. If one was to be discovered in any tribe, it had to be exterminated immediately. It is believed that in order to transform, the skinwalker must wear a pelt or skin of the animal it wishes to masquerade as. Encountering one of these beings is known to be terrifying. Usually they can be seen in Indian reserves. They will keep pace with a person's car or run at them as though to ram it. Sometimes there have been cases of skinwalkers running people off the road. Once they have revealed themselves and properly startled and induced fear in their victims, they will back off. The person they are stalking will be relieved at first, but upon returning home they will be haunted by the creature outside of their home. Skinwalkers will do what they can to get inside, peering through windows, fiddling with doorknobs, and even crawling up onto the roof to pace all night and unnerve its frightened prey below. Generally, these creatures do not bother with people who are not of Native American descent, but if they sense spiritual power that they desire in an individual, they latch on and attempt to kidnap the person so that they may have that power for themselves. Skinwalkers have always been feared, but it seems like in the past they were more inclined to mingle with normal mortals, killing and causing chaos where they could, while these days they are seen more as beasts than human. They no longer try very hard to disguise themselves, focusing more on creating fear over remaining discreet. Ways to identify an animal as a skinwalker are as follows. The animal will suddenly walk upright The animal will move stiffly or unnaturally, or the animal will give off a highly unsettling aura when looking directly into its eyes. Identifying a skinwalker in human form is more difficult. The most reliable way is to wound the skinwalker in animal form, and when it flees, to follow the trail of blood or to look for similar injuries to the one you inflicted on your friends and neighbors. Their eyes will also glow in the dark, like those of a cat. While believed to have the ability to change into whatever they would like to, including other humans, animals favored by the skinwalkers are the cougar, bear, coyote, wolf, crow, owl, eagle, or fox. Because of this, it is considered taboo in some Native American cultures to own or wear skins of those animals. But there is one fabled skinwalker of Alaskan legend that is none of those animals. The Kushtaka is a shape-shifting otter man that inhabits the southeastern portion of Alaska and a little bit of Canada. Unlike most skinwalkers, Kushtaka is said to only take the form of otters and half men, and sometimes just hairy men. In addition to its odd choice of animal form, these ottermen are not always spoken of in dark tones. There are many local legends where the Kushtaka would help an adventuring hero or return a wayward child, but there are equally many bad stories too, seeming to indicate that the creature is no better than its skinwalker counterparts from further south. They are, however, very different when it comes to their intentions towards men. Most skinwalkers seem to cause trouble for the sake of causing trouble, but it is mentioned several times that Kushtakas are often trying to trick people into becoming other Kushtakas. However, it cannot be denied that the one well-written account from the 1900s does sound more like an ape creature than an otter-human hybrid. Harry Cope was a gold prospector out on a midday jaunt through the woods. While he was scoping out the area, he caught sight of some fat grouse and took the liberty of shooting some down. One fell further than the other, and he had to walk a ways to get it. Near where it fell, he discovered some interesting-looking rock formation that might lead to gold, so he began examining the ground. When he turned around, there were several grotesque-looking monsters charging up the hill toward him. He described them as being ape-like, vaguely humanoid with thick, greasy fur and foul-smelling scabs covering parts of their bodies. The stench, combined with the shock, caused the man to faint on the spot. When he awoke, it was nighttime, and he was lying at the bottom of his canoe. He left and never returned to the area. The stench, combined with the matted fur and the apish features, does scream Bigfoot. Many are of the opinion that it is not the Kushtaka that the man saw at all, but something else entirely. It does seem to lack the strange, ethereal quality that the encounter with a skinwalker might. Those who encounter the beings are almost always gripped with an overpowering terror, something they cannot explain. While it was clear that the poor Harry was petrified by his encounter, it seems wholly different from the unnerving sightings reported by others. One such example comes from a man whose family owned a property in the heart of an unspecified Indian reservation. He awoke one night to the sound of two animals fighting outside, and seizing his gun, he went outside to investigate. It was winter, and when he got outside, he found two stray dogs standing and facing each other, fighting. He pumped a shell into his shotgun, and the dogs, hearing the noise, froze and turned to look at him. When they caught sight of the gun, they both bolted. But as they were running only on their two back legs, like a man. While they will hunt and attack humans, an encounter with a skinwalker is generally more surreal than a Bigfoot sighting. Meeting a giant unknown ape in the middle of the woods is definitely still an odd occurrence, but it lacks the dreamlike weirdness that skinwalkers possess. They break the rules of nature sometimes morphing directly in front of their victims. One could be looking at a fox one moment, and at a man with a hollow fox skin slung over his shoulders at another. Stories of skinwalkers are startlingly common throughout the Midwest. Even today, locals will warn you not to travel through the Indian reserves at night, lest you attract the attention of a skinwalker. So there was certainly some connection with shapeshifters and the Otterman or Kushdak. Another creature of North American lore, fleshgates, shape-shifting creatures found in the forests all over North America. Fleshgates are shapeshifters similar to that of the skinwalkers of Navajo folklore. However, unlike the skinwalkers, fleshgates were never human. Fleshgates are known to mimic voices, mostly that of their victims' last words, as well as change into different animals and people to lure their victims into the forest, where they would then be killed. Could it be that the same shape-shifting creatures are mimicking other types of creatures to throw off any indication of their true identity or origin? Who's to say for sure? It seems interesting that many creatures with the same shape-shifting qualities are all over the United States. The deer man is a deer-like creature found in Native American folklore and is mostly seen in the mountains of Oklahoma. The deer man is described as a humanoid, deer-like creature with the head of a deer, the body, arms, and legs of a man, and red glowing eyes. The deer man is said to let loose an ear-piercing scream, and legend says that if you see the deer man 3 times, you die. Skeptics believe that the deer man is a hoax, a misidentified deer, or a new species of deer altogether. The Oahe mountain dwarfs are small humanoid creatures found in the Oahe Mountains in Idaho. The Oahe mountain dwarfs are described as 2-foot-tall humanoid creatures that have long tails that they wrap along their bodies to make themselves not stand out as much. Despite their size, the Oahe mountain dwarfs are known to be immensely strong and are able to take deer. However, their main prey is humans. Oahe mountain dwarfs were first sighted by the Shoshone and Bannock Native Americans. The beast of bears is a large bear-like creature found in Virginia, Texas, and Florida. The beast of bears is described as a large bear-like creature that is missing patches of fur, has scars on its face, glowing red eyes. It seems that many of the extraordinary disappearances under strange circumstances in the Alaskan Triangle could very well be the Kushtaka or Otterman, some type of phenomenon that manifests itself through the expression of the heritage of the people who were the first to encounter it. One thing is certain, its presence is real and dangerous. So what is this Kushtaka? An evil spirit of the North American wilderness, looking for helpless victims that it lures, or an alien of some kind that is capable of shape-shifting into anything, making it almost impossible to truly know its real appearance, goals, and motives. Even with all our current knowledge of Kushtaka, in the end the mystery only depends and becomes more complex as time goes on. Do the Kushtaka exist in reality beyond the legends of the oral stories of the native Alaskan people and the imaginations of horror story writers and conspiracy theorists? What event caused the stories of the half-human, half-otter men to develop in the first place and to continue frightening people down to this day? It is impossible to find out.